Hello, Gramps. All right. I made it. How you doing? Have a good weekend. Excellent. That sounds really good, that. Yeah, I'll have a listen. Hi, Graham. How's it going? So it's freezing. I've got my nice warm top on. Hi, Sean. Right, so I'll just wake up. So today, what's happening is tomorrow, is splurging. Then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're doing a splurge, a discovery, and a draft. That's what I'm aiming at, but it might be 2 drafts. I'm not sure, because I can listen to some of the music after then. Because it'll have been 7 days plus another 2 days, so I can start kind of going through the stuff. Hi there, Ryan. So, but basically, I think the beginning of every session will be there'll be one like timed splurge, and that would be Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for sure with the timed splurge, where I'm going to be very strict. But what I thought would be good, and I'll probably have to mention this a few times, as people come on here, that I thought it would be good, right, if I could make it a little bit more interactive for you guys. So, if you've got a studio, right, why not fire it up for like Wednesdays live, and just as a bit of a warmer up for the day or the end of the day or whatever, have a go at splurging. I might give us a theme or stuff like that, but we'll do basic splurging, and what I'll do is we'll have the timer. Maybe we can position it somewhere. Where could we see it? So it'll be timed, and you can do. Yeah, that would work, wouldn't it? I'll put the timer out for us. And we can do a 10-minute splurge, and we can do that together. What do you think? Is that a good idea? Great, Sean. Okay, so for the guys who haven't splurged, there's a very important thing I want you to think about. And that is what you're going to take into the splurge, all right? So you don't want like every single instrument that you own, right? Because it'll just be the choices will be too overwhelming for you. The way to start that I start my templates, okay, is I think of beats. Okay, so beats would be a drum machine. Okay, so that would be one instrument you beat. So if it's a drum kit, kick, snare, hi-hat, crashes, toms, yeah, that's one instrument. Bass, that's 2 instruments, and that's so you got your beats. So that's 1 bass. Something to play chords or pads or whatever on, and something to play leads. So you've got drums, bass, keys, chords, and lead. Or you can think of it bass, mid, high end instruments. Okay, so you're kind of covering the frequency spectrum with your +3, and then you've got your beats as your beats. Does that make sense? So you can just, just pick some instruments that you know well, that you comfortable with, that you can quickly use. Because at the end of the day, we want to be mastering what we use, preferably. I mean, I'm back to, because of the Roland fiasco, I'm back to using the TAL stuff because I know it, and as a basic thing, I can get around doing that. Later on in a template, though, we do allow for some randomness. Like I've added my random bass channel, and I've also got a random channel here for stuff. So after the splurge thing, you can start adding stuff. You can add more instruments later on. But in terms for the basic 10-minute time splurge, you're going to have your beats plus your 3. So beats, bass, mid-range, high-end, lead. Got it? Or you might have, like, if your guitar, bass, rhythm, lead guitar. Something like that. Excellent. Sean's in. Right, who else is in for the splurge? Because you can start this tomorrow. Tomorrow, if you start tomorrow, you'll get to do 3. One after the other. Bang, bang, bang. Now, if you don't have... Yeah, he'll be doing it. I'm just calling people out. Because I think it's a great opportunity. And then what we can do is I'll do a quick wins, problems and opportunities with you as well. Very quick. I'll get you to do your wins, problems and opportunities. And then that way, you'll have something to work on and improve with. I think it's a total win-win situation. We'll see how it works, But I think because I'm doing it, there's the motivation of, like, you guys doing it. So what else was it? Oh yeah, the other thing is, if you haven't got any of those instruments, if you don't use electronic, just use a guitar. If you can record a guitar, just splurge with a guitar. If you don't have a studio, you can splurge using your phone. Ideas. Are you guys way past the deal of describing what to buy? Well, you can buy whatever you want. So, hi there, Des. I was just talking about splurge. I'm just saying that, if everybody fancies it, they can join in with doing the splurging. So this week I'll be doing, like, it's a full splurge today, full splurge tomorrow. So if anybody's interested, Ableton Live would do everything for you. Also, splurging's a great way to learn because it finds out what you need to be learning to do music, rather than learning every feature and not knowing whether you need it or not to actually make a noise. So yes, Des. So what I'm suggesting is everybody splurge along with me. So just fire your studio up. I'll set the timer. We can all see the timer, and we'll do a 10-minute splurge. So tomorrow you can do. We'll be doing 3, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday there'll be 1 splurge as part of the routine. I think at the beginning, before I move on to discovery and draft. That's the idea. Okay. I did hit my target for splurges last week. I might have even gone over it. I got 21 at least done, which I'm really pleased at. So Ableton Live would be all that you need, Gramps. Yeah. But I'm also saying is if you don't have a studio, you can splurge. Just record something on your phone. Just record the ideas. Just 10 minutes of being creative and trying to beat that clock. I mean, at the end of the day, we're just doing something, and that'll create problems of which we can solve. And then at the end of the splurge, we can have a quick discussion about that. So I'm just trying this out because I'm thinking, we can make this a little bit more interactive, and it would be nice you guys doing something along with me. And I think the splurge thing is just a great sort of introduction to all of this, because you'll at least get an idea out of it. So that's what I'm doing, Des. If you're interested, you can get that studio fired up. So, and the initial setup was when everybody's coming into the splurge, just to have set up beats plus 3 instruments, so drums, bass, something to play chords on, and a lead. And that's all you need because we're just splurging. You can add stuff later on. A splurge is a seed of an idea, remember. So there we go. And that we can start tomorrow, because you'll get like 3 splurges in, hopefully, if we're quick. Oh, right, that was good. Right, okay. So I made some updates. I will come back to that Roland thing because it did sound really good. But what did I do here? I did something different. So that's a good bass note. Okay. So I used Comeback Kid delay unit. So I quite like this, like the wide, you can really widen those delays out and sound good. Really throws them out the way of the main sound. It's got a ducker on it, dead handy. But it does this funny swirly phasey thing, and also you can add reverb. It's got a bit of it's coolest delay. So like over here, you've got your typical high cut, low cut. We've got attack and sustain, so you can play with the transients of your delay. We've got the widener. The richer sound actually detunes the left and right sides of the delay away from each other. There's a mono thing, and you can pan it left or right. I can't remember what Destiny does. I think it's something to do with the decay. Feedback, we know what that is. And we've got a ducker, which is just a compressor that turns the delays down, so we can get a cleaner sound. And then wet and dry, and that's it. And this delay is pretty. Quite like the cheap switch there. That sounds good. Puts a little bit of fuzz. Of course, we can have 2 different types of colours. Okay, so that was one of the updates. I think, what did I do on this? I've got the old Juno in there, and then we've got arcade and just the usual vocal hooks. McRocklin Suite, 4 guitar, and nothing else in there. And then I've got an empty one for random bass preset, and I've got, and then I've got the bass with different bass preset on. So it's quite, it's quite inspiring, that one. And that's it, really. So I think what we'll do is we'll just try and mess about and make something happen. Right. So I'll just grab, I think what I'll do is, what's really handy is just using a bit of found sound, or, you know, what I like to do is just try and find some sort of background before I start. Gives you something to play to. That could be quite interesting, actually. I was going to go for something a bit more tuneful, but I think this could be good. I'll sort of hear a tune in it. Beats, transients, 16s. We can turn it into some percussion. Ten minutes, here we go. So the cool thing about this instrument is I know it. So it's dead simple, but there's such a variety of sounds you can get out of this. Yeah, it's groovy. Interesting, like what I like to do with this Juno is not play chords and actually just play, so it's quite a thick sound, is actually just to play notes, usually like in some sort of parallel with the bass, that would imply chord tones. And that way I usually come up with more of a catchy chord structure. So at the minute it's intervals, but we could add other chord tones on a different instrument around this, and I find actually I get a more clearer sound. See, the separation's really good there, isn't it? So it's something I do all the time, but Okay, just get this pad in. Okay, and we've got a little bit of time left. Let's get a little bit of character in here. Let's go random. Okay, some alright ideas on that. Let's get that one there. And that's going to be every 4 bars, and then I've got one more to do after this, and then that's the end of the timer, and then we'll just quickly put it together and bounce it. And that, like that. This is yeah, using sort of vocal stuff as percussion's a good idea, isn't it? Just pan them about. And that's it, right? So I'll just need to bounce them into here quickly. And so I just want to. So that splurge is done, but whilst we're on, because it's a new delay. Well, it's not new. I've had it a while, but I just want to have a faff with this a second. Cool. And then what I'm thinking about is on the bass. So you can put a bit of delay on bass. We just got to aim, take the low end off it. That's great with the phasing sound on. Cool. And let's do that. Take out those bits because it'll confuse me. Okay. And export. Right, so it'll go a bit quiet as I export these. That's one done. Right, so we've got some questions. Yes, it's Ableton Live. I mean, I love using Ableton Live. I used to use Logic for years and Cubase, but Ableton's been the one that I've stayed with for years and years now. Yes, Ableton 11 Suite is a DAW, and that would technically contain everything that you would need to actually make music. Digital audio workstation, correct. Yes, Sean, that's... All right, yes, you're answering Gramps. Okay, of course. Sounds clean and smooth. Oh God, I forgot. You're right. Thank you for reminding me, Sean. I haven't, and I don't have a micro practice. I've never used Reaper, but to be honest, it's the reason I use Ableton isn't because it's like that it's a fact that it's better than any other DAW. It's nothing like that. It's just my brain takes to it a lot better. But Reaper's fine. That's good. Lots of people use that. I've heard nothing but good things about it. They're all good. It just depends, how you're thinking at the time. I just find Ableton very, very flexible with the way I work, in a really creative environment. And making music feels more like a performance on it. It feels more like an instrument than other DAWs where it feels like in a studio. But this is just me. It's not like a fact that it's that. So, yes, hi Tanmi if I didn't say hello. So today's the micro practice, right? Before I go on, I have to get this right. I think what it's going to be is I'm back to the groups of four, aren't I? So that's what I'm doing. But I'm going to do it with pentatonic scales. See that? Oops. So that's the position I'm going to practice. It's because there's a really tricky position. Shift. Yeah, it's not nice that. Yeah. Oops. So that's what I'm going to do. That's the micro practice. It's really cool that because how hard is it Ableton for someone who uses another DAW? I think basically when you use one DAW, the basics of this you'll get, because actually there are two views. So I use session view quite a bit because it's just chucking, I find it easy to chuck stuff together in this. But you've got the session view, which is just like any other kind of DAW really, isn't it? Where it's just reading from left to right. And your channels are here. You click on a channel instead of over here in Ableton. One good thing about this is when you click on a channel, you can see all of your plugins down here. So the workflow on this is very, very quick. But we'll open up a new project. So at this stage, okay, when you start splurging with me tomorrow, after the splurge, in the chat, and this is like really important, I'll ask everybody what were your wins, what were your problems, and what was your opportunities, and I'll expect everybody who was splurging to put at least something down for each one of these. If you can't, if you get stuck on a problem and you don't put anything, right, you don't have a solution, then I'll help you, okay? But that's what we need to do, and you always, like, you can't go straight to the problem, because people do this when I'm coaching. They're like, I'll say, right, wins, problems, opportunities, and they'll not do any wins, and they'll go straight to the problems. We always do a win, identify the problems, and then just guess a solution. That's it. But we'll have to do that after every session, okay? In fact, my wins problems were the delay was too quiet. Delay was too quiet, so I'm just gonna pop it up a bit. There we go. Right, done. So another splurge. Where do we start? Pick a different key. Oh, where's all that come from? It's quite awkward to play that. And we're in G. Right, I'll come back to that in a minute. So again, using proximity for chord tones. Alrighty, so I'll tell you what, we'll just stick that in there how it is. Do that. I'll quickly edit the drums here. I'll get some 808 onto this. Where's the rim? Rim shot. Hand claps. Well, it sounds good. Oh, because I've got the scale on. Right. There we go. be a 16th hi-hats there. Well, maybe it doesn't need it. Cool, and that's that splurge done. So I'll just bounce this down. Okay, we've got some questions. Right. Right, so I answered that one. How hard is Ableton for someone who uses another DAW? Not that hard because there's a lot of similarities. Hi Z. Yeah, so the reason I like to use arpeggios, Tanmay, is it's just a good starting point to write something. It's like a static thing. It doesn't necessarily tell me like a particular chord progression or anything like that. And then what I do is I find it really easy to like kind of flesh out a bass line to go with those arpeggios. So it's a great sort of starting point for me, either that or a background noise. Just something I can play off so I haven't got anything. I mean, sometimes what you find is the arpeggio thing disappears into the background and then the track will become something else. So in this splurge phase, all I'm wanting to do is I'm just trying to like use, it's a bit like tinder when you're lighting a fire. It's just kind of one of those things to spark an idea. Sometimes I find chords a little bit restricting, messing about with chord progression, because it doesn't tell me a lot, and it's a very thinky kind of thing. So the arpeggio thing can like actually spark a lot of other, not random, but a lot of other things can happen that are outside of what I would maybe do. Yeah, the toms are quieter. Saying that at this phase, all right. So at this phase, it's a splurge. So it's like a free write. It's completely unedited, just coming out of me. So all I'm interested in is like all of these sounds are working together. There's a bit of a tune there, and it's part of a tune, but I don't know what part of a tune. So when we move on, Jesse, as I'm sure you're aware, in the music machine, there'll be a discovery phase, and then this is where I'll start like splurging on top of these splurges. So these splurges are just like a beginning. Okay, they're just very quick ideas. And then what I'll do is in discovery, I'll find different sections. So it may be that we go for a chord progression because we need like some kind of chorus part. So, you know, something like that could happen. Or, I mean, mainly I'm just looking into potentially what could like be a contrasting section. So when it comes to, I mean, as long as I'm aware that the toms are loud, I can turn them down at some point. I mean, obviously, if something's in your way and it's clouding your judgment of what you're doing, then, you know, by all means, like, adjust it. What you don't want to do at this phase, though, is starting to, because people get, you know, what's being diagnosed as loopitis, right? And you don't want to catch this, because what loopitis is you get an idea like this, and then what you do is you start going in and doing a full-on mix on that idea. So you'll start like EQing stuff, getting the sounds to lock together, but you haven't actually finished the track. And what that does is it brings in, you know, when you hear me talking about the divergent, convergent phase, what happens is it brings in the convergent phase. So this is the very sort of binary concrete decisions, the yes-no decisions, like the mixing decisions, then come to the front. And what that does is it tricks your brain into thinking that the track's actually finished. And then the symptoms of that is it becomes too perfect and very difficult to work on because you're like, oh, I just need to do little movements here. I don't want to ruin it, okay? And that's where you start over-listening because you're tweaking things all the time and you're not actually doing enough to the track to, explore what its full potential is and to be able to move it on. In other words, when you bring that convergent phase into the divergent phase, the very beginning bit where everything's possible, right? It's like, I've heard it described as, it's like, and it is this, it's like braking and accelerating at the same time. So that's the best way I'd describe it. Yeah, it's like braking and accelerating. So really what we're doing is we're trying to just get the maximum emotional journey going here, aren't we? And we're trying to find out, explore lots of new ideas, and we're trying to just get like lots of different options together. Splurging, discovery, And draft to some point, although drafting you are kind of editing because you're removing parts at that point. But when we're really doing splurge and discovery sessions, if you find yourself moving, removing, or improving these three things, then you're not splurging. You're doing something else. You're going down the editor's starting to take over. Moving, removing, or improving. So those are three things that you have to avoid at this stage. And of course, when you're generating a lot of this, when you're generating a lot of stuff, things can, you do get into a thing where you think you're doing the same things all the time and you're sounding the same, but that's not necessarily the truth. That can be like something you're thinking in the moment. What I find is when I go back and listen to things, it's like, wow, I felt I was doing the same thing, but these sound totally different. So, Tanmay, the other stages are, so the other stages are, but what I'll say is, so here's the machine, Tanmay, right? So this is it's a music machine, this automatic music machine, as I call it, and what it is, so what you'll see is you'll just see a bunch of columns, really, so it'll look like a list, but within each column, right, when I'm in my coaching group, so I teach this to everybody in the coaching group, and the way you learn it is I take everybody through different exercises. So there's like lots of different splurge exercises, different discovery exercises, different draft exercises, and different tools and techniques that you can use in each part of the creative process, which I don't really talk about on here, right? Or take anybody through. I might give like sort of little bits away as I'm kind of doing my own thing. It's not that I'm being totally covert. I'm trying to get people into stuff because I love sharing knowledge. When you're in a coaching group, you sit with me. You've got your Ableton Live or whatever DAW you're using, and I sit and I run you through like timed, like splurges, timed discovery, timed draft, timed done sessions, and you go through. And these the games that I play with you are designed to create problems which you then solve. And this just turns you into one of those producers, right, that have always got ideas. You always know what to do at whatever creative stage. So that's what you do. So the stages are sketchbook, vomit an idea. Discovery is when you listen back to your ideas, you might find something that you think that's interesting. Discovery's an investigation on that idea. We are answering the question, what does this music want to be? And then draft is drafting, beginning, middle, and end. But what we're looking at as the purpose is what is the possible story of this? What is the emotional journey? And we're also looking at the arc, which is the overall structure. Then we've got like done. Well, done is where you just put things whilst you wait to make the release decision. So there is a process of moving something from draft into done that you go through, which is sort of like a pre-mixing phase that allows you to create kind of consistency amongst your tracks when you are judging them. But it also does not the full heavy lift, but the last bit of the creative lift on your music before you make the release decision. And the release decision would be all the kind of really yes-no stuff, like removing, muddy mid frequencies, all of that kind of stuff. But the point being is, why would you want to like do anything like that? Adding a compressor onto a snare in the very early on creative phase. I mean, what is the compressor saying about you or your music? Very little, right? It's very small. When we look at it on an Eisenhower matrix, right? What are the things that are what you're looking for is you're looking for the things which are least impact for you, like least effort for you to do, and maximum impact for the listener. Well, adding a compressor to something, to a snare drum, which you may need to do later on, is an important factor in making a decision on whether you're going to release something. So why waste time? Yeah, you see, Tanmay. So why waste time on doing that? Okay. So you're not going to do that, and then you're going to use all that time to write even more ideas. So what's actually happening is you have an abundance of ideas, okay, that you can make decisions on releasing. And some things that you don't want to release go into the sketchbook. It's not a bin. You can come back to them later. Other times, like basically sketchbook. So Dreamstream is basically my old sketchbook. That's what that is. It's hundreds and hundreds of ideas that like basically were just decided to put up there. So that's what that is. So you have an abundance of material, but you also end up in a unique situation where you have that much material that you can curate yourself into in your album or EP into a direction, which is an amazing situation to be in. Right, well, yes, and I mean, I don't want to mention money on here, but Tanmay, what you can do, right, is if you just message me today, I'll tell you how much it is, yeah? But basically, what it is we just, yes, if you email me, I'll send you an email and I'll let you know, okay? Interestingly, I'm starting another new person this month coming up, so it'll be a good time to get on. And I've got like a slot left, so you could get onto that for the March, and that would be 4 people on that group, which is a great number. So and then you can learn how to do all of this. I mean, everybody's getting absolutely massive results out of it, and it doesn't matter what level of because it's coaching, right? There's no differentiation. So it doesn't matter. You can have a complete beginner and you can have somebody who's like made music all their lives, right, and knows absolutely everything. The differentiation doesn't matter. You're not in competition with each other. You're only in competition with yourself, which is the beauty of coaching. This is why, like, basically the education system now should have this. Well, you can either send me a message on Discord, Tanmay, or my email is in the description. So it's in the description on this channel. But yes, so I mean that's all. That's what sort of happens in the machine when you very basically. The first advantage, because I was at the very beginning when this system was being put together, and I was like part of the research tester group, guinea pig, lab rat as I was, and the first thing that I got from this that was massive for me that I wasn't able to do was I was able to work on multiple projects at one time, all at different creative stages, and I could chop and change, so I could do a mixing session for like 20 minutes, like short sessions, and then I could quickly do a splurge after that 20 minutes, and then I could do something in discovery. So all the time as you're bouncing about in these different areas of creativity, or different muscles, as I would say. So it's incredibly powerful. And the other thing is you don't need loads and loads of time to produce music now. I mean, all the stuff I've been doing has all been done on these morning sessions. I'm very rarely doing stuff like outside of this at the moment. I mean, maybe the odd splurge or something like that, but I'm not doing any big sort of sessions. It's exactly like going to the gym. In fact, music, when you think about like doing music, part of that is, sitting down and doing it is forming a habit. And of course, like, there's the machine, okay, but then there's also this other thing that's kind of going on in the background. So we've got creativity modularized with the machine, but then you've also got this thing that I'll work in. So there's also the conditions of what I call the conditions of success, creating like success, and that is we'll work in, I think it's like 7 different areas. So I'll work with people with environment, like what equipment do you actually need, setting up your studio, getting everything all like optimized, so you're going to get the maximum impact when you're doing your sessions. You're not going to end up procrastinating or going down rabbit holes. Forming habits. We do lots of stuff on habits. Insight and analysis is huge. So when we're making decisions, we want to be in the studio when we're doing our session. We want to be running on insight. Okay, and insight comes from a phase of analysis. Going through this very, very quickly, by the way. So you may have been in a situation where you've been stuck on a musical problem or any problem in life, okay, and then you've had to come away from it. Well, your brain will kind of work on that problem in the background, and then, a bit like me at Sainsbury's with the missus, suddenly, right, the idea will happen in my head and I get all excited. And then you run back to the studio, right? And then, that initial kind of excitement idea is gone. But actually that idea, that insightful idea, does have some truth because it was your brain working on the problem in the background. So that's the first thing. The other thing is we're working on making your session as insightful as possible. And this other side of insight is flow. So as I've mentioned, the psychologists Stephen Kotler and Csikszentmihalyi, who've done extensive research into this. Flow is where we're feeling that everything's effortless. Tanmay, I know you play guitar. You'll have had gigs where, you start the first song and it's a little bit awkward. And then the next thing you know, you're on to song 2, 3, and then the gig's over like that. And it's like, it felt like you were not making any decisions. You're just flowing with it. You're playing and everything feels great. And you're really you're embodied in the activity. So, that's how we look at it. We look at how to use insight and analysis, how to use analysis outside of the studio. So that's the editor and how the editor can help insight. So that's all put in like its little compartments. And then there's obviously dealing with fear. So you'll be releasing music and, eventually that's the worry of... especially when you're mixing and you're connecting something with the outside of the world, the brain plays all sorts of tricks on you. Because at the end of the day, you think you might draw fire from people and people are going to hate what you're doing, or you're not into what you do, you're not really sure about the music you're releasing, and you think you're going to be dragging this terrible music about for the rest of your life, or you don't like the idea and you feel you're emotionally connected to it and you feel like you're a terrible person because you're doing this terrible music. Well, that's not necessarily true. So that's part of it. The boredom. How can you keep going and change things and make things different? How do you keep going and be excited so you don't because at the end of the day, for me, my approach to music is you sit down and you do the thing. I turn up and here, it's like another day in the office for me. And that's what everybody's saying. It's just we turn up. Sometimes we'll have a boring day, and sometimes I'm sure you think, Tim's doing the same thing. We should stop that, pick the guitar up and play it, which is coming soon, by the way. So it's just another day in the office, really. Okay. So that's the boredom. And then you have community, which is when you're releasing stuff, who you're releasing to, identifying your audience, building a tribe. So there's that approach. And then finally, and the one thing I didn't mention is skills. And why do I not mention skills? Because I find skills, as a coach, okay, there's some core beliefs that we have in the music group, right? So we all need to believe this is the truth, right? You already, Tanmay, have the skills, and everybody on here, you've already got, especially Des. Des has definitely got this. So we've already got the skills to make amazing music. Okay? We can make music as good as anybody else. And we can make music under any circumstances. So the world's a funny place, right? Okay? And one thing we should always do is not let it ever control our creativity. I work with people in very, very challenging circumstances who've got absolutely nothing, and I see them being very resourceful and very, very creative in the limitations that they have, okay? And it's an amazing thing to see, and we can all do that. We can all do something. You can do something on your mobile phone. You can record a guitar on your mobile phone. There's absolutely no reason that external things, right, should stop us for 10 minutes in the day doing what we want to do. Okay, and creativity is very, very important, not just for the music process, but by definition, okay, creativity is solving a problem. in a really fun way, and exchanging shit problems for great problems. So we can always be creative. Sorry to go serious, right? But we can always be creative under any circumstances. Okay. And then finally is you can make an income out of music. You see, music is worthless, right? Okay, it's lost its value. It's you get 0.004 pence. But even that, you can make enough to put the electricity on in your studio, all right? But when you've got music, right, and you've got tracks that you can release, you can do stuff with it. You can connect with people. You would be, Tanmay, for example, I'm directing this at you because you're asking the questions. But you'd have original instrumentals which you could play a guitar over. This puts you in a smaller minority of people who are doing stuff. That having music has given you mobility. You can, you could send it off for endorsements and things like that. You could say to companies, look, you can use my music to advertise a product. You can do stuff, when you're doing that. You can send it off to labels, try and get a record deal. You can send it off to venues to try and get a gig, so you can make money from other places. You also become an artist, okay? And when you become an artist, especially if you're doing something like guitar teaching or something like that, right? Okay, it increases your value because you're somebody who's releasing music, who's actually making something on the very sort of cutting edge of creativity, and that has a lot of value and a lot of worth. I mean, a great example is DJs, isn't it? The ones who produce, right, earn way more money, okay? So your value goes up. High Zone 21. Such good stuff. Thank you, Graham. Great points. So there we go. And those are the core beliefs of what we have. And I think we've got 3 minutes left. So very quickly. So I'll just say, so tomorrow, what we're doing is everybody who's got a studio have it at hand set up for 5:30 in the morning. This is the most information I've learned in 12. Well, it's only the beginning of it. So that's amazing, Tanmay. So, and the good thing about it is, right, it's you've already got the skills. What it is it's a coach. It's up to the coach to help you facilitate those skills. So tomorrow we'll all do a bit of splurging together. So if you've got your studio, set that up, something to record into, and then the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a couple of splurges. We're going to do some 10-minute timed splurges. When you set up your template, if you can, make sure you have beats, so a drum machine, something to play along to, a bass, something to do with chords, and something to do with a lead instrument. So those could be synths. If you're just doing guitar, have your bass, and a couple of tracks set up for rhythm and lead. Or just whatever you fancy, and we'll probably be developing these templates as we go. So if you could do that, that would be great. And then basically we're going to hit the ground hard and running. Everybody's going to splurge for 10 minutes. We're going to stop, and then I'm going to ask you about what went well, what were the problems, and how can you come up with a possible solution. So I'll expect you to answer those 3 things. Sorry to sound all strict. But it'll give you a little bit of a taste of the value of what we're doing and the power of the splurge. Okay? So that's it. Tanmay, you can message me on Discord, but I would suggest an email. My email is in this description. And then I can get you onto this group coming. Okay? Which will be starting in March. All right. Okay, guys. So that was absolutely awesome. And I will see you all tomorrow morning with your studios fired up, ready to go, all right? Okay. Catch you later. Bye.